Imagine having to worry about falling into a pool while you are asleep, wandering unfamiliar places without knowing or remembering. This is a problem faced by a small percentage of people every time they lie down to sleep. Sleepwalking, often seen in a comical light, is more common than people realise, causing a great deal of stress to those who experience it. At 20 years of age, Elise has spent more than half her lifetime sleepwalking.
I don't really know when I started sleepwalking. It's all I've ever remembered. Apparently I was around 2, and as I got older it just got worse and worse.
Also known as somnambulism, sleepwalking is a disorder which affects an estimated 10% of the population. Nikki Marchant, a neurophysiological technician, studies brain function during sleep.
Generally, it's much more common in children. The majority of people grow out of it when they get to their teen years. But there is a small proportion of people where it will persist throughout their adult life as well.
Recent statistics suggest that 17% of children sleepwalk, mostly between the ages of 4 and 12. While the condition usually resolves in adolescence, 4% of adults will continue to suffer. Olivia Casey is 18 years of age and still sleepwalks.
I'm not sure when I first started, but I suppose when I started to realise that I was sleepwalking when I slept over at friends' places.
Some of the triggers of sleepwalking include fatigue, stress and tiredness.
If, say, you're staying away from home, you will have a sleepwalking episode that particular night.
When I was about 8 years old, I was on holidays in the Gold Coast and was staying at a nice resort in an apartment, and sleepwalked out of the motel room, down about 2 or 3 flights of stairs, and I woke up just with the safety door to the motel right at the pool. I remember just waking up thinking, what am I doing? And if I'd gone any further, I would have been locked out of the whole motel room. So I remember going back upstairs and knocking on the door for ages, and no one had come. My parents were asleep, my brother was asleep, and I kept knocking, and I ended up just started crying because no one had come and helped me. And the guys in the room next door came out to see who was crying, and they found me, this 8-year-old girl.
When you go to sleep, you're not just at one level through the whole of your sleep. You start off quite lightly and you actually go through cycles. So you go from stage 1 right down into deep sleep, and then you come up briefly, and you often have a little REM period then, and that's a common time for sleepwalking to occur.
Sleepwalking generally occurs during stage 2 of the sleep pattern, which is up to 55% of one night's cycle. During this stage, the breathing pattern and heart rate slows down. A slight decrease in body temperature, blood pressure, metabolism and cardiac activity are also experienced.
What happens in sleepwalking is, instead of being paralysed as you normally would be in REM, for some reason your muscles are not paralysed, and therefore you can actually get up and start acting out your dreams.
When I was about 25, I actually was having a dream one night that I was falling off a cliff, and so I was holding on really tight, and when I woke up I was just in complete darkness wondering where I was, and I realised that I was in bed and holding on to the curtain, and so I just let go of the curtain and my fingers were really sore. I was holding on that tight, so it was that vivid.
Usually if I've had a stressful day or I've got a lot on my mind, then what I'm thinking about while I'm dreaming must, really come out, and I'll get up and do it or reenact it.
I'd fallen asleep on the lounge and I was home by myself, and I woke up and I had no idea where I was. I was at home, but I just had no idea. And so I grabbed my phone and I texted my dad and I said, "Dad, can you call Mum? I have no idea where I am." And that doesn't make sense at all, but I sent it to my dad and he must have got it and thought, what the hell? And he rang me and he said, "What's going on?" And I was still sleepwalking at this time. I'd answered the phone and I was still talking to him saying, "I don't know where I am, I don't know what's going on."
Sometimes you do find several members of one family will all sleepwalk.
Scientists believe they have discovered the genetic code that makes some people sleepwalk. By studying a family of sleepwalkers, the fault was traced to a section of chromosome 20. Carrying even one copy of the defective DNA is enough to cause sleepwalking.
This is my son Bo. He's just over 2 years old now, And in the last couple of months, my wife has actually seen him sleepwalking twice. She's just gotten out of bed and just walked over past his room and just seen him standing there at the door, just looking out at nothing. But he might have inherited that gene through us.
Both my parents are sleepwalkers. I always knew my mum was. She used to tell me a lot of stories, but I recently found out my dad was as well.
Peter Casey, Olivia's father, is also a sleepwalker.
I woke up and heard him rustle out of bed, and I thought, I wonder what he's doing. And I thought, I'll let him go, because he's probably just getting up to get a drink or something, and he didn't come back to bed. I thought, I better go and see if he's okay, because he was stark naked. And I thought, I can't have him walking around the house with the children with no clothes on. And I couldn't find him. He wasn't upstairs. I was looking everywhere, and I got to the top of the stairs, went downstairs, and I said, what are you doing? And he was walking around, and he said, nothing. And he just kept walking around, and I know that you're not supposed to wake them up while they're sleepwalking.
It's very much an urban myth that it's dangerous to wake a sleepwalker. It's actually more that it's difficult to wake a sleepwalker.
I actually woke up with the TV at the end of my bed in my hands, and it was quite a heavy TV too, and I was trying to put the TV down. I could not for the life of me actually find where it actually went, because I would go to put it down, then it would start to fall off the shelf in complete darkness again. I just thought, stuff it. So I just put it down, and I heard it crash a little bit, and I thought, that'll do.
I tend to go into my mum's room a lot. This one night I walked in there and I was just standing over a bed really close to her, and she obviously sensed someone was watching her, and she woke up and she got a fright. She went, ah, because I was standing right there, and then I woke up going, ah. So we were both just standing there screaming, frightened, and had no idea what was going on.
Sometimes I just walk outside, I'll move my whole bedding and be in the hallway.
A lot of the time I just walk out into the lounge room and into the kitchen, and I often just find myself, I'll wake up and I'm just standing in the kitchen.
You're not aware of what you're doing, so you can potentially put yourself into all sorts of dangerous situations. And there have been many anecdotal tales where people have walked out into the street, literally stood in the middle of roads. People have been known to sleep drive, which is quite a terrifying prospect really. But sleep eating is also very common.
Medical treatment for sleepwalking is necessary when it's caused by an underlying medical problem. In some instances, medications may be prescribed to control sleepwalking. There are also a number of steps a person can take to lessen the impact of sleepwalking.
I've never been threatened by it in any way. Never felt, fearful of walking into a swimming pool or walking out into the traffic.
It wasn't regular enough to worry about it.
I'll set up a trap for myself, just in case I do sleepwalk. So all the time now I'll put a chair in front of the door and set up bags or shoes or any kind of object in the path to the door that I would walk if I was sleepwalking.
I'd never go to bed with a knife on the bench. It would always be packed away in the knife rack. It's just a little.
There are pharmaceuticals available that can help with sleepwalking, but they tend to be very much along the lines of being a sleep drug.
You know how sometimes you might have an afternoon sleep or something and you fall into a really heavy sleep and you wake up maybe at 7 o'clock that afternoon and you're not sure if it's the next morning or what the situation is? It's a little bit like that for me sometimes when I've sleepwalked and woke up.
It's really quite hard to explain, but a lot of time when I'm sleepwalking, I know what I'm doing. I don't, like in real life, I don't know what I'm doing, but my sleepwalking self really knows what's going on. I know what I'm looking for. I know what I'm talking about.
Quite often it does affect the families more than the actual person who's doing the sleepwalking, because it can cause a lot of worry and stress in general about the potentials of danger of them wandering around in the night.
So as time passes and more sleepwalking cases are discovered every day, will doctors ever find a true solution? Or will we keep locking our doors and wander through the night?